And we're back with our panel. Ezra, I want to start with you on the Democratic side. Some people who supported Hillary Clinton said they really wanted her to have a challenge in the primaries. Well, she got one. So where do things stand in Iowa? What are you looking for there?
So what's fascinating in Iowa is that there's a replay, in a way, of an argument that happened in 2008 too, which was that Hillary Clinton is much more of a political realist than most people who run for president. Barack Obama that year ran promising hope. He promised change. He promised that there was a way to change and transform the political system such it'd be friendly to progressive priorities. He won that argument with Hillary Clinton then. There was a period of time in the interim when liberals were so disappointed by Obama's frustrations with Republicans, and people thought Clinton's argument that this was going to be a fight, that Democrats needed a fight or there'd be trench warfare, had gotten a lot more traction among liberals. And what Sanders is showing is that to some degree that's not true. He's come in with this argument of a political revolution. There's going to be a way to sort of mobilize the working class, mobilize a kind of silent progressive majority, and sweep away a lot of the obstructions in American politics. And I think the thing Clinton is having trouble figuring out is how to sell a more realistic but also more depressing vision of American politics. How do you respond to that by saying, that's not realistic, but I don't have an answer that's going to make you happy either?
Right. One of the most interesting things that's happened, I feel like, over the course of the past couple of years is that it became okay to be a democratic socialist in America, in the sense that this was not something, Bernie Sanders, when he was in the House of Representatives, was someone who was on the extremes. He was understood as being on the extremes, and yet something has changed in America, and it's changed in large part because of the rise of a young group of Americans who have no association, no memory of the Cold War. They do not associate socialism with communism or the Soviet Union or anything of that nature. There was an interesting poll that came out a few months ago that asked under 30-year-olds if they, who they would be okay voting for. 69% of people under 30, this is Gallup, said that they would be okay voting for a socialist for the presidency, compared to 75% who said they'd be okay voting for an evangelical Christian. That's a dramatic shift compared to previous generations, and that's the kind of support that Bernie is tapping into.
So Kim, if Hillary Clinton wins in Iowa and New Hampshire, does that mean the Democrats are making a sensible choice about what it takes to govern and being practical?
They're probably making a pragmatic choice about a nominee that would have a better chance of beating a Republican. I mean, I think everyone probably agrees with this, that there is a lot of enthusiasm for Bernie Sanders. And when you have some of these head-to-head matchups with Republicans, he does do fairly well against some of them. But I think maybe when his positions are better known in the country, is the country really ready to go there? Possibly not. And that's probably on the minds of a lot of Democrats who are going out to vote.
And what do you think? Let's play through some scenarios here. One, Iowa and New Hampshire have a lot more liberals than any of the other contests. So let's imagine Bernie Sanders rides this wave of enthusiasm, wins in those two places. How much damage does that do to Hillary Clinton?
Well, he certainly has momentum at his back. He's probably raised a little more money, and people in South Carolina, Nevada, and those other states in March start looking a little more seriously at Sanders. He then has, of course, all that money to start spending and organizing and deploy his people in Iowa and New Hampshire into those places. But the coalitions or the demographics of those other states change dramatically. We've talked about this before, that Iowa, New Hampshire, and Vermont are the most liberal states in the country. Everywhere else is not nearly as liberal. And while a lot of those 30-year-olds or under 30-year-olds will live in these other places, there are going to be a lot of Democrats who are much more pragmatic, understand that having Sanders as the nominee would not work, and probably will swing back towards Clinton, but it would prolong the race. That's why you saw this conversation this week about debates all the way into May. I mean, the fact that they're even talking about that suggests that if he does pull off wins in both early states, this could go on for quite a while.
It is worth noting, I think, that one thing Hillary Clinton's team has done that they did not do in 2008 is they've always been prepared, even with not that much evident opposition, for a very long race.
Yes.
They felt they lost the 2008 race because they did not prepare for a delegate fight in smaller caucus states, and they just did not have a strategy that was ready for it to go through June, and they do this time.
That's right.
Her other problem, though, here, and we haven't talked about it, is not just the enthusiasm problem, but the email problem.
Yes.
And the trust thing. I mean, look, Bernie Sanders is going into Iowa and his closing argument is, let's make the world a better place. And Hillary Clinton is going into Iowa and her closing argument is, we're pretty confident there might not be an indictment. I mean, that's just not a great place to be. Right, so she's got this and it plays into the trust question, and that does resonate in particular with a lot of these younger people that you're talking to as well.
It also is the other side of the coin when it comes to the economic game being rigged. Hillary Clinton is not the kind of person who has the message of saying, if you believe the economy is rigged against you, if you're a disaffected voter, if you feel like you're frustrated with the situation, with bailouts, with Wall Street, with everything of that nature, she's not someone who's going to upset the apple cart. Both Trump and Sanders tap into that rage that is out there in the country that feels like they've been ignored by both parties, and they feel that way, frankly, because they have.
Ezra, what do you think if Hillary Clinton does well? It doesn't seem there's the kind of animus. Remember, the Clinton and Obama voters really didn't like each other for a period of time in 2008. Does it feel like that at all in terms of the Sanders voters and the Clinton voters? That's the first question. The second is, what does she do if she does do well? She might have a period of time where things are going well for her while the Republicans are still fighting things out.
So I think, one, there's not going to be deep divisions in the party. It's worth saying that even in 2008, while there was a lot of talk of Pumas at the election and that there'd be these big splits, there didn't end up being that. People always underestimate how much having a nominee in the other party ends up concentrating a Democrat or Republican's mind. In terms of what they do, though, in a very long period where all the attention is going to a Republican campaign that's going for month after month, they probably raise a lot of money. They do a lot of organizing, but that may not be a good period for Clinton because it's a period in which she gets covered as a president when he gets investigated.
Right. All right. We're going to have to end it there. Thanks to all of you.